All right, picture the scene of a masterfully executed crime. In the really gripping true crime stories of history's greatest heists, we usually picture ski masks, midnight break-ins, those complex vault combinations. But the ultimate heist, it doesn't actually target a bank vault. It targets the human mind. Welcome to this explainer on the ultimate psychological heist. You see, the greatest con artists don't steal because they're just somehow inherently smarter than everyone else. They steal because they possess a genuinely dangerous understanding of something most people just don't: human psychology.
And we are all naturally drawn to the bait, right? The flash, the money, the luxury cars, the private jets. Our brains just naturally gravitate toward these flashing signals of extreme wealth and power. It's literally almost instinctual to look at these symbols and immediately assume that the person behind them is successful, legitimate, and secure. It is the absolute perfect stage setting for a psychological crime.
And then you've got the human element, the smiling faces. Just imagine meeting someone who remembers your name flawlessly, looks you directly in the eyes with absolute sincerity, and speaks with such unshakable confidence that they make you trust them within mere minutes. This isn't just natural charm, it's a highly calculated technique. It's a dangerous weapon used to forge an instant, unbreakable bond of trust.
But then, poof, everything disappears. The money, the cars, the smiles, just silence. Imagine that chilling realization that every single word they spoke to you was a total lie. This is the terrifying premise of the con. The most devastating criminals in history exploit our psychology, not physical locks and keys. They don't break down doors, they literally just convince us to hand over the keys.
Okay, let's dive into this. To understand how this ultimate heist is actually pulled off, we gotta ask ourselves a pretty uncomfortable question. Are you really as rational as you think? Humans desperately like to believe we're these creatures of cold logic, making decisions based entirely on hard facts. But the psychology of deception reveals a much, much darker truth.
Section 1. Hacking the human brain.
So, neuroscience tells us this absolutely fascinating story about our rationality. Our brains are incredibly complex, for sure, but they are fundamentally designed to save energy. Instead of painstaking analyzing every single situation we encounter, our brains rely on built-in mental shortcuts just to survive the overwhelming amount of information in the world. Psychologists call these shortcuts cognitive biases. And what's really interesting about this slide is the secret to the con artist's craft. They don't force people to do things against their will. They just use these cognitive biases to silently pick the locks of our minds, guiding their victims entirely beneath the surface of conscious thought.
And because these exploits happen on a subconscious level, the victims of this psychological heist are honestly pretty shocking. Doctors, lawyers, CEOs, even FBI agents. Intelligence offers absolutely zero protection against a skilled con artist. Why? Because no one is immune to psychology. When these hidden backdoors in our cognitive processing are exploited, an advanced degree simply is not going to save you.
Moving on to Section 2, the halo effect. History's greatest con artists understood exactly how to project success, to effortlessly open doors at highly secure banks and luxury hotels that really should have remained firmly locked. This happens because of their primary disguise, the halo effect. It's what occurs when one single positive impression, like, say, an expensive suit or remarkable confidence, causes us to blindly assume that a person is completely honest, highly intelligent, and entirely competent in all areas of their life. We see the halo, and we just stop asking questions.
This brilliantly illustrates how it works. Compare what we physically see on side A, an expensive suit, perfect eye contact, pure confidence, with what our brain automatically assumes on side B, that this person is honest, successful, and competent. The con artist never needed every single person to believe his elaborate lies. He only needed enough people to fall for the physical presentation. Once the assumption was made, executives and strangers would blindly trust him based entirely on what they saw right there on the surface.
All right, Section 3. Weapons of influence.
Now let's accelerate our investigation a bit and get clinical. Every successful con artist throughout history uses the exact same psychological playbook. Let's crack it open. So the crucial point is that human beings predictably fall victim to 4 specific weapons. First, authority. A nice suit or professional title makes us instinctively trust before we ever verify. Second, scarcity. A fake urgency like, "this ends tonight," completely shuts down our critical thinking. Third, reciprocity. A tiny, unprompted favor creates this overwhelming instinct to return the favor. And finally, consistency. Once someone says yes to a small, harmless request, they are far, far more likely to continue saying yes, even when glaring evidence suggests they really shouldn't.
But hey, this isn't just some dusty true crime history lesson. It is absolutely vital to recognize where these weapons are being deployed against you today. They surround us constantly. These tactics are rooted in decades of psychological research, and they are actively used in modern scams, everyday advertising, political campaigns, and literally all across social media. The heist is happening on your screen right now.
Which brings us to Section 4, Emotion Beats Logic.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because it's time to directly address the single biggest misconception out there, the belief that only naive, foolish, or unintelligent people get scammed. That couldn't be further from the truth. Notice how emotion completely swallows logic here. Con artists don't try to fight your intellect. Actually, scratch that. They don't even engage with it. They simply bypass it altogether. They use incredibly powerful emotions, fear, greed, blinding hope, deep loneliness, or sudden excitement to temporarily but completely disable your critical thinking. Emotion beats logic every single time.
Listen to this piece of evidence. A really tragic realization victims frequently share. I knew something felt wrong, but I ignored it. Their subconscious instincts actually noticed the warning signs. The brain's internal alarm system went off, but their manipulated emotions completely overruled their logic. And by the time cold reality finally caught up to them, the vault was empty. It was just too late.
And finally, Section 5, the ultimate defense. So how do we protect our minds? Well, we have to recognize that the greatest con artists weren't really selling facts at all. They were master students of human behavior, selling confidence, a captivating story, and absolute certainty. Therefore, the real defense isn't walking around filled with constant suspicion and paranoia about everyone you meet. It's awareness. The next great con won't arrive wearing a burglar's mask in the dead of night. It's going to arrive in broad daylight with a warm smile, a highly believable story, and exactly the words your heart desperately wants to hear. Understanding this manipulation, seeing the gears turning behind the smile, is the only real way to stop it from working on you. Because once you understand how the trick is done, you just can't unsee it.
Which leaves us with this final mystery to carry with you. What hidden psychological phenomenon will shape your decisions tomorrow without you even realizing it? Our minds are such fascinating, vulnerable places, and there is just so much more to uncover. If you enjoyed this explainer breaking down the ultimate psychological heist, be sure to subscribe because next time we're going to uncover another hidden force secretly directing your daily choices. Thanks so much for watching, and stay curious.